Hey there and welcome back. So it's time for another project, and this time we're going to work with a little guy called Agent Blue. So we are going to end up with something really cool. I want us to take a look at something called animated tiles. So just to give you a quick look at what I'm talking about, here's something familiar. So this is Mega Man, of course, and we can see him standing in front of a waterfall. And if we were to do this with sprites, it would be really slow. We would get a lot of lag and just and especially in NESmaker we couldn't do this with objects. So there's a clever trick when working with the NES. So what's happening here is that the background tiles are changing. So something like this is what we're going to end up with. Animated background tiles. But in order to do that, we have to do a couple of things first. So this video is going to be sort of a preparation for that. So in this video we're going to take a look at 2 tutorials from the NESmaker forum, and this is also kind of good in the sense that these aren't necessarily tied to animated tiles. So what we're going to do here today can be used on its own. And basically what we're going to do today are 2 things. We're going to improve our 1F space. We're going to get more space in 1F. So we're going to move some stuff from 1F. The bank stuff that we were talking about last time. You remember that 1F was really full. In fact, let's take a look at 1F right now. So this is the setup for my Agent Blue game. So as you can see, 1F is really full. Now this is a default NESmaker setup. I haven't done any custom coding or anything like that right now. So as you can see right now, there's 5% free space in 1F. And as I told you, 1F space is very precious because we don't have to worry about bank switching or anything when we're in 1F. So it's often a good idea to have, at least it's very convenient to have a lot of stuff in 1F. So right now there's 5% free space in 1F. So that's what we're going to improve today. That's one of the things. So 5%, let's remember that. But the other thing is something called user screen bytes. And let me just show you in NESmaker. Here's our little Agent Blue. So if we go to screen info, you might have seen this and wondered what this is. It says user screen byte 0, user screen byte 1, so on. So all these things down here. The problem is, by default in NESmaker, you can't use this. You can write whatever you want in here, nothing's going to happen. So we're going to activate these. And the cool thing is that by doing that, we can actually we can have 8 different values for every screen. And without going into detail about what that actually means, let me just briefly say that we can activate, in our case, we're going to activate animated tiles by using this screen byte. So right now it's on 1. Let's set it for 0 for now. So we are going to bring back user screen bytes, and we're going to free up 1F space in this video. So let's just get to it. By the way, let's just test our game right now to see if everything's working like it should. So export and test, and nothing special, just a standard Metrovania game. Scrolling is working fine. But if you can see this area right here, this little black area, that's where I want us to have some animated tiles, some sewer stuff or something coming out of that black hole. So that's our end goal here. But the game is working fine, so now we can start doing our actual work for this episode. So I have my little cheat sheet here, which is let me just bring it over. So I'm going to follow James Ness's tutorial here. This is also a really great guy on the NESmaker forum. He has written some really fantastic tutorials, and this is one of them. So what he has done right here is huge if you want to do a lot of custom coding in your game, because as you can see what it says here at the beginning, by following this tutorial you're going to free up 15% space in 1F. Now we had 5% before, so when we're done with this you're going to have 20% free space in 1F. That's great when you're starting to do custom coding. So let's just see what he says right here. We are going to start by copying out the middle section of do_load_screen.asm. Now he says copy out the section. Actually we need to cut it completely out. So do_load_screen.asm. Don't get confused about the file names, because a lot of file names here are very similar. But this one is called just do_load_screen.asm. Now, if you're doing this with a project that's in development, please make sure you have a backup, because we're going to do some pretty big changes here, and there's a pretty big chance that something goes wrong. If you follow what I do, then you're okay, but just in case, just make a backup. But if you are doing like me and you're using the Agent Blue game right here, then it's not really an issue. And by the way, the assets for our Agent Blue game here is available on my website. I'll leave the link in the description. And I don't want to spend a lot of time doing what we did last time, because if you don't know how to import all these assets, you can either go back to the Jack the Chick video, or you can just read the readme file that I made for this import or these assets. So here are the import instructions. So let's not spend any time on that in this video. But our Agent Blue game. So where can we find do_load_screen.asm? Well, usually we go to our project settings and script settings. We go searching for whatever file we need in here. Now the thing is that these aren't all the files that NESmaker is using. So some files we won't be able to find in here. So right now we need to go to our NESmaker folder, or in our case that folder is called Agent Blue, if you followed the instructions for the instructions for the import of the assets. So we are in our NESmaker Agent Blue folder. So let's go to our game engine data, routines, base 4.5 and game. So by now you may be starting to get familiar with the folder structure here. So right now we have our Metrovania folder. This is our main folder for the Agent Blue game. But there's main subroutines folder here. Let's take a look at Mod Metroidvania. You can see that Mod Metroidvania has its own subroutine folder, and there's not a lot in there. It's just this one. And some modules have that, like the platformer base. It has a few files in here, in the subroutines folder. But this one right here is the main subroutines folder. So if we go into that one, there are loads and loads of files in here. And this is where we find our doLoadScreen.asm. So make sure that you're in NESmaker folder, Game Engine Data, Routines, Base 4.5, Game, and Subroutines. This is where we'll find our doLoadScreen.asm. So let's see if we can find it. doLoadScreen.asm. There we go. So I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to make a backup of just this file. So I'm just going to right click, rename, and if you have your Windows set up like me, then it's going to show the last the file type. So in this case it's .asm, and behind that I'm just going to write .backup. You know what, let's make a copy of the file first. So let's just copy it and paste it, and let's just rename our copy file. So I'm going to rename it, remove this, and just behind .asm I'm going to write .backup, like that. So now we have a backup file of our doLoadScreen. So again, we don't have to be too worried about stuff right now. Okay, let's open doLoadScreen.asm. So copy out or cut out the middle section of doLoadScreen. So he says right here where we're cutting from and where we're cutting to. So we're going to go to line 50 and select everything down to line 414 in doLoadScreen.asm. So doLoadScreen.asm, line 50, that's this one. It says load background palettes, new pal. So put your cursor right in front of the L here, and let's just hold down left mouse button and start dragging down here. Okay, so we're going to drag all the way down to where it's set to the line number 414, which is this one. So make sure you have this area selected. It's quite a lot. So from load background palettes, new pal, right below this include sentence. So make sure you have load background palettes, new pal, and everything all the way down to JSR do wait frame. Select all that. And instead of doing what James Ness said, to copy it out, we need to cut it out. So just right click on your selection and cut. And before I do anything else, let me just write a comment here. Put in a few semicolons here, and I'm going to write moved to doLoadScreen 16, like that. So doLoadScreen 16, we will come back to that, but just so I know that right here there was something, and now it's moved to doLoadScreen 16. Okay, so before we lose what's in our clipboard right now, let's just open up a new file here. So just go to File, New, and here I'm going to go down a few lines and I'm going to paste in what we cut out from do load screen. So now we have our do load screen, which is a little bit smaller now, quite a bit smaller actually. And we made a little comment where we removed something. And in our new file, we pasted in what we cut from the last file. Okay. So in this new file, let's just follow the tutorial. So we want to cut this, and he says in this new file, at the top of the file, add this thing, do load screen 16 colon. So let's just copy that, do load screen 16. Let's go back to a new file, and all the way at the top here, let's just paste it in. So we have a new file that's going to be called do load screen 16. Now I'm going to explain a little bit when we're done here what we have actually done, but let's just go through this for now. So do load screen 16, and NES also says that at the bottom of the file we need to put an RTS. So let's do that as well. So in this new file, let's go all the way down to the bottom, and let's just put an RTS all the way at the bottom. Okay, so now it's time to save this file. So File, Save As, and let's make sure we are in the right folder. Agent Blue, Game Engine Data, Routines, Base 45, Game, Subroutines. Yeah, sounds good. But we need to change this one. Save as type. You don't want a normal text file. So select this one and assembly language source file. Select that one. And let's remove this. And let's just write do load screen 16. This is our new do load screen 16 file. Alright, so if you have selected assembly language here, let's save it in the subroutines folder. Okay, so now we have two do load screen files, but this new file is called do load screen 16. Alright, so what more does NES tell us to do? He says, back in do load screen ASM at around line 39, where you removed all the code, you need to put this in there. So let's copy this part, just copy that, and let's go back to our do load screen file, not this new one, but the one called do load screen. So just below where we wrote our comment, moved to do load screen 16, just below that, let's paste this thing from NES, and let's just quickly take a look at this. What did we just paste in here? Well, this is bank switching. We talked about it last time, but this is actual bank switching. What's going to happen here is we're going to bank switch to bank 16, and after that we're going to run a subroutine called do load screen 16. That's this new thing that we just made. So remember, when you write a colon behind some label, then this, and we write all this, and at the bottom RTS. This is our new subroutine, do load screen 16. So in a do load screen file, we bank switch to bank 16, and then we run this new subroutine, do load screen 16. And when that's done, when we reach the RTS down there, then of course normal subroutine behavior. We return here. That's what RTS is, right? We return from the subroutine. Then we're back here. So the next thing that happens is return bank, which means we're switching back, which is basically back to 1F. So this is how we bank switch in NESmaker. But as I said before, you need to be careful when and where we're doing it. You can't just bank switch all over the place. So, and let me just also emphasize that the point here is that we're moving data out of 1F and we're moving it into bank 16. So that's what's happening right here. Okay, so what more does James Ness want us to do? Next, you need to include the new file in bank 16. Again, we looked at a little bit of, on this kind of stuff last time, but we need to include the new file in bank 16. Okay, in NESmaker, go to project settings, script settings, and add this thing right here. So he says we are going to add something here. Now this is a script define, which we have looked at before. So just select this thing for name, load screen bank 16. Select that and copy. And back to NESmaker, project settings, script settings. And let's go all the way down to subroutines. Select that one and click add to add a new script define. And let's paste what we just copied from the website, load screen bank 16. And let's not forget this script define itself, scr load screen 16. Copy that one and back to NESmaker, script define, and paste it in right there in define. So now we have something that says under name load screen bank 16 define scr load screen 16. Click OK. So that's a script define. Now if you remember, we haven't really done anything. This is just a pointer. Right now, as you can see, it's pointing at nothing. It's useless. But let's make it point to our new file. Let's make it point to do load screen 16. Okay. So select load screen bank 16 down here and go to our window over at the right, base 45, game subroutines. So let's find our do load screen 16 here. There's my do load screen 16. So I'm going to double click it and there we go. Now this new script define is pointing at my do load screen 16 file. Okay, so if you remember, we haven't included the file yet. We have just made this pointer. So let's go back to James Ness. Then hit OK, sure. Next, open bank 16, which is on the top of the script list. So now we are going to open bank 16 in NESmaker. So let's go back to NESmaker, project settings, script settings, go all the way at the top, and let's find our bank 16, which is this one. So select bank 16 here and click edit. Now again, this is a big one, so let's be a little careful now. Next, James Ness says we want to add this line in there, and he says let's add it at line 494. Okay, let me just copy this line, include scr load screen 16. Let's copy that. Okay, Let's go back to our bank 16 file here. And NES told us to paste this in line 494. It's very far down here. So here. Let's paste it together with these other includes. 494, that's this one, so it's a little below that. But let's just paste it in here. So this is where we are actually including our new doLoadScreen 16 file. And we are including that in bank 16. So now this is the actual move of the code. We cut it out from the normal doLoadScreen file. And by the way, let's make sure we save this one. So we cut out a huge part of our doLoadScreen, which was in 1F, or it still is in 1F, but we cut out a huge part of the code from there, which means we removed a lot of stuff from 1F. But we can't just delete it. So that's why we made this new file, doLoadScreen 16, pasted it in here, and now we are actually including it in bank 16. So now we have moved a huge part of the code from 1F, from bank 1F to bank 16. Okay, again, let's make sure we save this file. Alright, so what else does NES tell us to do? Actually, it says that should be it. Nice. So, if we have made sure that we have saved our new files now, let's actually try to run the game to see if everything works, or if we did break something. Alright, here we go. Export and test. Fingers crossed. Alright. No error message. That's a good sign. Okay. And everything seems to be working just fine. Yep, I can scroll and everything's looking great. Now, this is the big one. How does my ROM file look right now? So let's open our NES space checker. And in game engine data, let's find our game.nes file, a ROM file. And let's open it in the NES space checker. Now let's take a look at 1F. Well, what do you know? 21% free space in 1F. That's fantastic. That means that now we have it's not unlimited space, right? But it's so much more than we had before. We started with the default NESmaker setup with 5% free space in 1F. Now we have 21% free space. That's huge, because now we actually have a little more room to make custom code in here in 1F. And what about this doLoadScreen that we cut out? Well, now moved it from here all the way here. So now it's somewhere in bank 16, which had a lot of free space from before, so that's no problem. So ideally, you could wish that we could do that, spread the code all over, because there's so much free space here. But as I said, it's a little complicated. Alright, but that's great. We freed up a lot of space in 1F. Fantastic. So, thank you very much, NES, because this is amazing. Very nice. Okay. So, the next thing, actually let's just close this one. and let's close this one as well. So the next thing we are going to do is what I mentioned in the beginning. We need to bring back our user screen bytes. And again, the point of these are to use them for whatever you want. Basically, you have 8 new values for every single screen. So let's not spend too much time on that right now, but we are going to need them when we are going to do animated tiles. So let's look at another tutorial, and this time it's from Chronicler of Legends. Alright, so he has written a great description here, great tutorial on how we can bring back or actually activate the screen bytes, because they are there in the UI, the user interface, but they don't actually work. So what does Chronicler of Legends tell us to do here? Well, he says all you need to do are 2 steps. Step 1, we need to make 8 new user variables, and these are the 8 new user variables. So let's copy this top one, user screen byte 0. Let's copy that one, go back to NESmaker and project settings, user variables. So let's add a new user variable, and let's just paste in, whoops. Okay, let me just copy it. Where is my, there we go. So let's just copy user screen byte 0 in there, and I'm just going to select user screen byte here, leaving the 0 out. I'm going to copy that. So I'm going to add a new one. I'm going to paste in here and write a 1 behind there. Add a new one and add a 2 behind there. A new one and paste, add a 3 behind there. Add a new one and paste, add a 4 behind there. Add a new one, paste and add a 5. Add a new, paste 6, add, paste and 7. So now we have 8 new user variables, and those are called user screen byte from 0 to 7 here. Alright, still we are not quite done here, not yet. So make sure you have these, and we can close this one. And in our tutorial it says here, open up your game engine data routines, base 4.5 game subroutines, do load screen data. Like I said in the beginning, let's not get confused here, because a lot of these files are called almost the same, but this time it's do load screen data. So he says here, warning, back up your original file. Alright, fine, let's do that. Do load screen data. Alright, let's go to our NESmaker folder and routines, base 4.5, game, subroutines. And the file in question was do load screen data. Do load screen data, where are you? There we go. That's my do load screen data. So let me just do what I did before and copy it first of all and paste, and let's just rename this copy to dot backup. There we go. So now we have a backup file of do load screen data. Alright, now let's open do load screen data. Alright, so what does Chronicler of Legends tell us to do now? Go to line 167. You should see this. Alright, just after that, add this code block. Alright, so let's select this thing, and let's make sure we get everything from user screen byte 0 all the way to user screen byte 7. So copy that, and let's go to line 167, just below this part. Alright, do load screen data 167, that's right here. So he said we should see something like this, and yep, looks just like what he said. So right below this one, which means right here, right below STA screen flags 01, that's where we are going to paste this new code. So he's even written a comment for us here. Load the user screen bytes. Okay, nice. And let's save this file. And if we go back to the tutorial, and you're done, he says. That's amazing. So there's a little bonus down here. We're not going to look at that right now. But a huge shout out to James Ness and Chronicler of Legends for these great tutorials. Now, by the way, let's also test to see if our game works or if we broke something. That's always a good thing to do. So, yeah, everything looks just fine. Okay, great stuff. So, the thing is, we have done quite a lot of stuff here. We have done some modifications, but right now, at least if we didn't look at the NES space checker, we wouldn't know that something happened. So nothing visually exciting happens right now. We don't have any new power-ups, we don't have any super cool animations right now, but these two things that we just did allows us to do that. But we are going to do that in the next episode. This is just to set up for our next episode, which is about animated tiles. So, hope you got all this, and like I said, I'm going to leave the link for the assets for Agent Blue, and I'm going to leave links for the two tutorials from James Ness and Chronicler of Legends. So those three links will be in the description. Alright, well, I hope you got this, and just a couple of days I'm going to come back, and then we're going to look at the actual animated tiles. So, have a great day. Bye bye.